I'll tell you what, Cowboy fans. I'll tell you what, Mark Holmes. Eagles, the champs of the NFC East. We're making moves this offseason. We're making moves.
18th pick in the NFL draft.
Hey, make us lunch. We're hungry.
Dallas still stinks. Everybody do it. King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys are having a great time. You know, I think it's very funny. I did a video earlier today, and I was merely commenting on the reports out there that the Eagles are going to go hard for a corner. And one of the guys that they may be interested in is Byron Jones. As soon as I did that, as soon as I even talked about it, you got Cowboy fans flipping out. They're getting all nervous. They're getting all nervous because they know the champs are going to get better. Mark Holmes is in Miami. He's near a bunch of boats and vacation places, water, and he's making videos about me. He has nothing better to do than make videos about me because I mentioned the report. I mentioned it. Face it. They're scared of the champs. That's what it is. And let me tell you, I'm not married to Byron Jones. He is not the main guy. I'm saying we got to get this guy or we're going to have a bad year. He's the guy. I'm not married to him at all. If the Eagles decide they want to get him, he'll improve the team. If not, there are other corners to get, probably cheaper. I'm not worried about it. What I'm worried about is getting better. That's all. And so, Mark Holmes and Dallas Cowboy fans, be nervous. Be really nervous because we're making moves. We're making moves this offseason. We're going to be better than ever next year. I know. Wait, we run. We the champs. You the chumps. Remember that, Dallas. Now, I feel good today. You know, I quit sugar. I started keto. It's like the third or fourth day. So I'm finally not feeling so bad. I'm starting to feel better. I'm like, look at this. Look at that speed. Speed, I tell you. It's already working. All right, so, I don't know. I'm nuts, right? Okay, so, here's the thing. I think this is a huge offseason for the Eagles. I think this is going to be a very busy offseason for the Eagles. I think that the Eagles are going to make a lot of moves. I think they have to. They have to go out and get younger. And one of the main reasons I feel like this has to happen, besides that some of the guys are older, you're paying some older guys big money, is because of where your quarterback in his career is at. Sorry about that. It froze up for a second. So anyways, what I was saying was, I think that this is a big offseason for the Eagles. And part of it is the age and things like that, but it's also where Carson is at his career. The way I look at a franchise quarterback, right, is I see it in pretty much three separate stages of a career, okay? And the first 4 to 5 years is really the early years, right? Those are the days where the quarterback's learning, he's still getting better, he's still learning things. You may tend to put veteran players around him to help him out, okay? And then after that, and when you get into the second stage, the next 5 years, which is where we're entering now, those are really the prime years of his career. And I think it's very important to put guys around him that are going to be with him for most of those 5 years, if not all of them. Okay, so you have to start establishing some younger guys that will come in, play with your quarterback for the next 5 years. And the Eagles, really, they have a lot of aging guys. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey. These are older guys that are not going to be here in 3 years, in 4 years. And you don't want to interrupt, in my opinion, the prime years of a quarterback's career. You want him to have people that he's going to play with, that he's comfortable with, and that they can go through the prime together. And then when you get, out of the prime years, you kind of go into the twilight years, let's say the next 3 to 5 years. You have to retool, you have to redo things, because some guys, they leave, they get paid, they go somewhere else, you can't afford it, and that happens. But right now, we're entering the prime of Carson Wentz's career, the prime of it. And we need to have guys that are going to be with him long term for the next 4 or 5 years. Has to happen. And the only way that's going to happen is I think the Eagles have to focus this draft on offensive players. When I look at the draft, I am primarily going to focus on offensive players. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to get defensive players in the draft, but I'm going to be focusing heavy on offense, okay? On putting guys around Carson that's going to be with him for the next 5 years. That's what I want to do. So when I break up, and this is just my opinion, okay? A lot of things can change from now to when free agency really starts. But when I look at the offseason as a whole, and I look at free agency, and I look at the draft, I really want to split it into two and focus on different sides of the ball for each one. So in free agency, my focus is going to be defense. I am going to primarily focus my resources in free agency and maybe trades of veteran players on defense. I'm going to be focusing on defense. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going 100% only defense. You could sprinkle a player here or there, no doubt about it. And in the draft, I'm primarily going offense. Same thing. You could sprinkle a defensive player here or there. That's all fine. Okay? So when I look at the Eagles, right, and if it was me, and look, things can change. We don't know. There's free agent. There's guys that are listed as free agents that are going to get signed. They're going to work out new contracts with the team. They may get franchised. We don't know. But if we just base it loosely, and when I use a player's name in these examples, doesn't mean I'm only buying that one player. If I mentioned Byron Jones at the cornerback position, doesn't mean I'm just buying him. I'm using him more as an example because we really don't know all the guys that are going to be free agents at this point. But when it comes to free agency, let's say I can choose any of the free agents that are available right now that are going to be, right? I would look at getting 2 good defensive players. You're going to have to spend money, but I would try to get 2 good defensive players in free agency. We are $43 million under the cap this offseason. So we're going to have about $43 million to play with, okay? So I think the first thing that I would probably do, now, I don't know if this guy's going to be available, but if any way Yannick Ngakoue, and I hope I said that right, if he's a free agent, 25 years old, I'm telling you, I would go after him. I would go after him. I know we have Brandon Graham, but he's got 2 years left on his deal. He's older. Derek Barnett has not reached the levels in which I think he should be playing at. And I think he would provide solid, great player, a guy who's very productive, can get pressure on a quarterback. And then, you know what? I would rotate him in with guys like Brandon Graham. You can move Brandon Graham inside, you can move him outside. You also could save him from having to take a lot of snaps early on in the year. So if I had a choice, like somebody like that, I would still go pass rush. And I know we spend a lot of money on our defensive line, but that's really the key to our defense. You got to get pressure on a quarterback. And if you do that, it'll make everything else easier. So if I could do something like that, I would do it. I would pay for him. I would pay for him. And I know he's going to cost a lot of money. You know, and then I would look at a corner. I would need to get a starting corner. And who, you know, they talked about Byron Jones today. Maybe he's probably going to make the most money. You got Chris Harris Jr. I think he's a little older. I would only sign him for a year or 2. I preferably don't want to use him. One guy that I may look to get, and I think would be solid pickup, probably a little bit cheaper, would be Trey Waynes of the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to be a free agent. He is solid enough to be our best starter at corner. And I think he would be cheaper than a Byron Jones or somebody like that. So if I could get like Yannick Ngakoue, him, and then, you know, maybe you know, one of the lesser free agents to get a linebacker, that kind of thing, I would be good. I would also make sure that Malcolm Jenkins is brought back. He's the one guy over 30-something years old that I would bring back. You gotta work it out with him. You can't afford to lose him. Now, I would let McLeod walk. And here's what I would do. And This may sound crazy, but I really believe in this. I believe this a lot. I believe this would work. I would get Rasul Douglas, and I would convert him to a safety. And then I would look to add a free agent safety. Now, if McLeod wants to come back at a cheap discounted price or something good like that, then bring him back. But I think Rasul Douglas is a natural safety. And if you don't want to put him there, you can consider putting Avonte Maddox there, even though he's a little smaller. But I would not spend big money on a safety except for making sure that I bring Malcolm Jenkins back. And then I would find somebody, whether it's Rasul Douglas, whether it's Avonte Maddox, whether it's, a lesser free agent, somebody that's not going to be too expensive. So I would try to upgrade the pass rush if I could do anything first. Then I would get like a guy like Trey Waynes, okay? And remember, I'm using names kind of loosely, okay? I'm not saying I'm committed to these guys specifically. I'm just using them because they're out there and they're going to be free agents as of right now. So I'm not married to any one guy. I'm just married to the idea more to the position and to what the position means. I just want to make that clear. So let's say in free agency I could get a defensive end, a Trey Waynes, somebody like that who's a lesser corner but still could be a starter. A safety and a linebacker. Both who won't cost you a ton of money. I would do it. Okay, I would try to get Bradham to renegotiate his contract because I'm not paying him $10 million a year, okay? And then if I could bring him back, so be it. Then I would try to get Robbie Anderson or another wide receiver, even maybe Perriman, Robbie Anderson, somebody like that who could come in and instantly be better than anything we got, pretty much. You'll have Deshaun Jackson, maybe you can have Robbie Anderson. Both of them are speed threats. I would try to move Alshon. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I would get a wide receiver in free agency, somebody that could come in and play right away, like a Robbie Anderson. Okay, so when I look at free agency, I focus primarily on defense. I added another wide receiver. I added another defensive end, a cornerback. You got to add the corner. The corner you have to do, in my opinion. If I can upgrade that defensive pass rush, I'm always going to do it. Anytime the Eagles can upgrade that pass rush, they got to do it because that's the key to Jim Schwartz. That's what he needs. So that's how I would look at it. I would look at like couple good defensive players. Then I would have a good wide receiver, a decent wide receiver. And then I would, sprinkle in what I can at the linebacker position, the safety position, without overdoing it. And that's how I would handle free agency. Now, the other part of the offseason is the draft. It's the draft, right? And if we look at what we did in free agency, we focus mainly on defense. And the reason we focus mainly on defense is because we need guys that could come in and play right away. You draft some defensive player like a corner in the second round or something, you don't know that he's going to come in and play right away. You don't know what level. This team needs playmakers. They need guys on defense that can play. So I would focus free agency on defense. I'd sprinkle in, like I said, a wide receiver and a little bit of offense, but primarily it would be defense. Now, when we look at the draft, I'm focusing primarily on offense. I'm primarily focusing on offense. And, for me, in the first round, there ain't no way I'm not going wide receiver in the first round. And like I said, I have to go wide receiver because I cannot trust Howie Roseman and the Eagles to draft the 4th or the 5th wide receiver off the board. You think that it's so deep that they can't miss, but look how many guys they missed last year. This goes back to like 2010. You can't miss a wide receiver. So I'm looking at a guy I would like, and look, I don't have my top 5 left. I'm using specific names of guys that I think are going to be good and have potential. I'm not married to any one guy. I gotta say though, I do like Henry Ruggs a lot. I do, because I like his speed. Speed kills, and the Eagles lack a lot of speed. So when I look at Henry Ruggs, some people think he's going to fall to us. I think by the time you go through the combine, you go through their scouting day, I think Henry Ruggs is a guy that's going to go between 13 and 18. So you get a 4th, maybe 5th round pick, you probably could jump up to like 15 to 14 and snag him. And that's what I would do. I would try to get a guy like Henry Ruggs in the 1st round, definitely wide receiver. In the 2nd round, I'm going to get a corner. I'm going to bring in another corner, a guy that hopefully can take over the other spot of a guy like Jones or Wayans or whoever I bring in at that corner position. Okay, I want somebody that could eventually play that other side. In the third round, I'm going back to wide receiver. Now, Ruggs is a little smaller. He's fast. I may go a little bigger wide receiver, okay? But he's got to be able to run. I don't care how big he is. You have to be able to run. The guy runs like a 4.6, 4.7. I don't want him. This is my concern with Higgins. I've heard Higgins runs like a 4.6, maybe even worse. That's why I want to see what he runs at his 40. If he runs a good 40, then his stock is going to go way up, especially in my mind. So, first round, wide receiver. Second round, corner. Third round, wide receiver again. Now, we're going to have 2 third rounds We're going to have 2 third rounds because of the compensatory pick for Foles. Okay? So, with that second, third round pick, I would go interior offensive line. Maybe go for a backup center. Maybe go for a guard. Even look at a safety. Get a young safety. Bring him in. You got to get a safety. And basically, I would focus on my offense the rest of the draft. Sprinkle in 3 defensive positions. A corner, a safety, and a linebacker. Maybe even 2 linebackers, okay? The Eagles are going to have about 10 picks, right? That's what they're saying. Let's say I trade 1 to get up. I have 9 picks left. 5, 6 of those picks are going to be offense. The rest is going to be defense. But that's kind of how I would do it. I would focus the offseason. Free agency would be focused on defense. The draft would be focused on offense. And here's why I'm doing it that way. Because we talked about, at the beginning of this video, we talked about Carson Wentz and him entering the prime of his career. Well, anybody that I draft, the Ruggs or anybody else, they are going to be with Carson in the next 5 years. Okay, those offensive players are not going to go anywhere. They're going to be with him. So if I hit on those picks, Carson is set with weapons, with offensive linemen. He is set with what he needs for the next 5 years, and that's what I'm focusing on, to be able to have guys for the prime years of his career with him. And the only way you can do that is through the draft. You're going to do it through the draft, other than free agency. And in free agency, you need defensive players that can play right now. They got to be able to play right now. We don't need guys to draft and then can't play. We need guys that can play. So focus defense in free agency, focus offense in the draft. That's how I would handle this all season. What do you guys think? How would you handle it? Let me know in the comment section. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Don't be a dingbat.